には聞こえるよ楽園に広がる歌が
Yo, what is up, Crockxen clan members, anime fans, and others who have someone found this video? I'm SoresanCrockxen, and today we're going to be doing one more anime time with Soresan, and today's topic is going to be the fruit of Grisaia. Let's go. Now, before we get started, I know, I'm admitting it. The series ended yesterday, but I had some trouble actually getting the ability to watch the episode and then actually record. I actually didn't watch the episode until today. So I apologize for being a day late, but you're getting it today, so that shouldn't be that big of a deal. But anyways, so the Fruit of Grisaia story, it's really kind of, how do I say this? It kind of flees me. I honestly do not fully understand what the main premise of it is. Really, the show is basically a drama romance. It looks like it's supposed to be a harem, but then it doesn't really feel like a harem. Which I had no problem with. Like it had the typical one guy and like a multitude of girls, but they weren't really they weren't really pushing the harem aspect of it, so it honestly didn't feel like it was a harem. So it actually feels more like a drama than anything else, which I was completely fine with. But essentially all we have is our main character Yuji coming into a school setting, like trying to get away from his very erratic lifestyle, and he just wants to live a normal life, quote unquote, right? And the whole premise is him kind of helping each of the individual girls inside the school. There's only like 5 of them, so each of the girls kind of cope with their past problems and try to move on from that. And then throughout the episodes, it's just honestly just that premise, getting to know what happened to all these girls in their past and try to fix it. And that's basically it for that. Like honestly, that's the only thing I got from that. I didn't really feel like it was a really overarching story, except for the fact that he was integrated into everybody. It's like not really like involved with everything, but like in the past, but was able to like somehow connect all the dots and stuff like that. And that's basically, that's like I said, that's what I got from that. So moving on. Alright, so the animation and music in this series was actually pretty top notch. I really liked it. There's one thing that I honestly, it bugged me, but you can look past it, where like all the characters have these weird like extensions on their eyes, like it's like on the edge of their eyes. It's on every character too. That's what makes it worse. But it's like this red little triangle that comes out at the very tip of their eyes on the outside, and it's on every character, and it just bugged me every time because like sometimes you wouldn't notice it, but then other times it would be glaring right in your face to where you're like, oh my gosh, it's still there. So I don't know like if that was intentional or what, but like I said, you didn't notice it all the time, but when you did, it was really jarring to see. But you can look past it most of the time. But the animation, the characters look great. I love the designs for every single one of them. They're really the setting is kind of generic. It's just a small town, and most of the scenes take place in the school when they're not doing flashbacks. So it's a very simple art style, I guess you could say, when it comes to that. But the flashbacks were well done. Every single character's past involved a different kind of scenario, so that changed for each individual character, which was fine. It was really nice to see. And then we had some moments at a lighthouse. It was like the hill near the lighthouse. That stuff was cool as well. But yeah, so that's. And the music, like I said, I like the opening. I really like the opening. The ending is kind of mad, but I don't really care about endings most of the time. So I tend to skip them anyways. But the opening was fantastic. I really enjoy it. The soundtrack in the episodes were fine. There's not really any particular one that really sticks out to me, but I just know that I liked them when I was watching it. I could enjoy what was going on. But yeah, so time to move on to the last part. All right, characters. My favorite part of these anime times. Sometimes they're really tedious. But anyway, so we have our six main protagonists, right? You know, we have our main male character and then the five main female protagonists. Um, Now throughout the season, you know, we see since we kind of have to get involved with each individual girl. We kind of learn about their past. We figure out why they have certain type of personalities, traits. Um, so I believe, if I remember correctly, the first female we really got to work with was oh no, well, starting off we have Yuji. We should probably talk about the main male character first and then get into the females. But Yuji, he's kind of like like honestly, when he showed up in the series, he kind of did this whole thing where he met up with the principal in school, right? And apparently, they know each other from the past situation. They know each other. They're acquaintances for all intents or I mean, yeah. Let's just say they're acquaintances. They know each other, and so apparently, Yuji works for this type of organization or something along those lines that deals with like they're not really spies, but they're more like the cleanup crew of like if something happens, they're supposed to be the ones that do it secretly without anybody knowing, right? They're basically the group that something happens, right? Like maybe a murder or a kidnapping or something, and they know the target. They gotta take out the target without anybody knowing there was even a target to begin with, or you know that the target disappeared. But they basically the way he says it when he talks to the characters, he's basically he works for the garbage disposal because they treat criminals like garbage, right? So that's what they do, and he's basically in charge of cleanup. That's basically what we're dealt with, and he's a very smart character. Like he's a very smart character. I really like my smart main characters. They're really like yeah. So every once in a while, I do need a stupid main character to have some fun with, but for the most part, I really enjoy smart main characters. And so he's kind of like a trained marksman. He actually shows up into the school with like a suitcase, like not a suitcase, but like a briefcase. Has a sniper in there 'cause he's a sniper. So you already know he's badass. Um, but so yeah, that's basically the traits for him. He's very smart, very. Now, he's not cocky, but he's more like he's the nice smart guy though. Like since he's always thinking of others, or at least he tries to solve everybody's problem. He has that nice guy kind of mentality in the back. But because he's an assassin, you know, he kind of doesn't care. Like he doesn't really have emotions, to be quite honest. For the most part, he kind of reads the person and tries to react accordingly. Um, but he's very serious too. So like he's not gonna be all giddy giddy happy and stuff. He doesn't really laugh unless like he's faking it. That like he's that kind of person. Um, but okay, so moving on to like the first girl, which I believe she's the first one we dealt with in terms of like her backstory. She's kind of like the main female protagonist. She's like Yumiko, who is the daughter of this big corporate president guy, and apparently when they had her, like her dad and her mom had her. Since she wasn't a boy, he cheated on his wife with the mistress, and then they had a son. And so he was gonna be the heir to the company, and so basically she was left behind, and then her mom fell ill in the hospital because you know she was so depressed and just heard about the fact that he cheated on her, and then his mistress had a son, which meant that they meant nothing to him now. And then she basically died by committing suicide because of all this ordeal and left her basically by herself. And so she's very scarred inside, right? And here's the thing: her son, or the boy, he dies a little while after birth. So like maybe like he was 1 or 2 years old. He's dead, which means she's the only thing they have. But since she's like so unfit for society right now, they basically the school was made for her essentially to just keep her locked. This is basically a prison for her. She can't leave freely. She's basically just stuck there, and the only reason that she would ever get out is if the president's like, oh, well, we need her now or something like that. So like they're basically, she's basically there to stabilize mentally, which is kind of messed up if you think about it. Which then shows off why her personality. She's very reserved and she really doesn't like people talking to her. So in the beginning of the series, she would always come late to class because she didn't give a fuck about anybody, and she didn't like to be there in the morning because that's when everybody else was there. And anytime somebody tried to get close to her, she would cut them, or she attempt to cut them. She had this little like I don't even know. It's not a knife, but it's this little thingy. It's like a box cutter. I think it's more. It's no. It seems more like a box cutter. And I was like, what the heck, man? But then after the whole backstory with her, and after we fixed everything, she became more open, and she committed fake suicide to make her father cry. Which was amazing, by the way. The way I didn't even understand still how the hell they were able to manage that so fast. But it was crazy. It was crazy. It was very fun. So I believe she was the first one we dealt with, if I remember correctly. And then after that, I have it right here written down. No, Amane was the last one. I mean, we can talk about Amane as well. But Amane, she's actually the last. I'll leave Amane for the final episode because technically the last little tiny arc is dedicated around her, so we'll leave her for last. We'll leave that part. Michiru. Okay, Michiru. Michiru is a fake / real tsundere. She's kind of in the middle. She basically acts tsundere. She's not really tsundere. Essentially, what happens with her whole backstory is that she's actually has two personalities. She's actually she has split personality. Essentially, you have her real self, Michiru, who is the fake / real tsundere. I really don't know how to explain that because she's kind of tsundere, but at the same time she's not tsundere because she is kind of like an act. She actually dyed her hair blonde to act tsundere. She actually says that too. And then her other personality is actually like when we get her backstory is essentially when she was younger she had a really weak heart and she had no friends, and then she made a friend when she was gonna kill herself. There was another girl on the roof that was planning to kill herself, and so she felt jealous because here's another person who's trying to do something that I want to do, and oh my gosh! But then they became friends and like best friends. And then eventually, like they planned that they were gonna kill each other at the same time. Like they literally planned to commit dual suicide. How ridiculous is that? But then they became friends, and they were kind of moving away from that aspect, and they became best friends. And then the girl committed suicide ahead of time, so it left her for dead, or left her alone again. And then her heart started acting up again to basically the point she was dying. And they did a heart transplant and everything. And then that heart transplant was the heart of somebody who died early. So she was kind of like taking over Michiru's, not Michiru, yeah, Michiru's, like she's the other personality. She's a more confident one. She looks at you straight in the eye. She looks you straight in the eye. Talks all serious. All the tsundere stuff is basically out the window while that's happening. And it basically the whole backstory with her, or the way they plan out, is that she wants to die because she meets this cat and she basically like adopts it, kind of, but they can't have animals inside the school, so it's kind of like he's kind of like a wild cat, but she takes care of it, like she feeds it and she plays with it and she does everything with it. The cat dies in her hands, like bleeding. Like basically, a car ran over it, and like Yuji went out to find it, and then ended up seeing it. Told her to leave, but then she came back, saw the cat in his hand dying, and then they were gonna go to a pet hospital thing, but it died in her hands, just puking up blood and everything, and she was just freaking out that her real self retracted inside, and then her other self basically took control of the body. And then he forced her back out, and then they did this whole thing where she wanted to die, so he buried her alive for like 3 days. and then that's when we got the real full-on backstory. She didn't want to die, so she clawed out of there, and he was waiting for her up there, and he's like, "What's up? Been waiting for you for 3 days." Literally, he was sitting outside the hole for 3 days, waiting for her to give up on killing herself. Which was a nice touch, by the way. That just makes him look like a bam. It's just true. Alright, and then we have Machina. Oh my gosh, she's actually my favorite of the girls. Because she's just so adorable. She's actually the youngest, or at least she looks the youngest. She has this thing where basically she's very easily influenced by other people, so she's constantly changing what she likes, what she dislikes, how she talks, what she eats. It's very funny because little kids are very impressionist. Like you very damn it, that's not the word I want to say. Little kids are very easy to impress to the point where like to mimic people. That's basically her gag. She just likes to mimic stuff. The thing with her is she's actually the daughter of a Marine, and she actually was like military trained by her father. It was the funniest thing. So like her whole backstory thing is that because all that happened, I don't, damn it, I can't remember exactly. Like something with her, I think her dad died. Then she had a little sister, and then apparently they were trying to kill her to make sure, or make her look like the bad guy, so that her little sister could get, rise to fame, and then gain control power of something or another. I honestly don't remember. Actually, no. This is what it was. Her little sister was attacked in a way for them to take Machina and sacrifice her to give her her stuff, her organs, or all that stuff, for her sister to live. That's basically her whole purpose right now, is to make sure that her little sister lives and make sure that she makes it to where they want her to go. So Machina is just a throwaway. You can see a pattern now, right? All the girls are like useless to everybody. So the way they pull it off is that because she's gonna get killed, Yuji kidnaps her. Well, I mean, not really kidnap, but takes her on a trip to get her away from danger, and then they fight basically to protect her. It was the coolest thing ever as well. And then she basically started calling him her dad, which was the cutest thing ever. I'm just gonna say that right now. I was like, Papa, and then they had loving moments where she would do something because she asked. And it was amazing. It was just cool. They also had a little training montage with her too, where she, like, because he's a sniper, remember that? So he taught her how to snipe people. It was hilarious. It was just awesome. And then the last girl, who, I mean, she was actually a pretty messed up one too. Sachi. Sachi. The thing with her is that she's actually a person who likes to please other people, in the sense that she actually dresses like a maid while in school, and anytime anybody needs a favor, she will do it. No matter what it is, she will do it. And this is where it comes in. Like, this is what happens. Okay, so when they were back in her previous school, it was something about a test, and everybody was freaking out about it. So her thoughts were, okay, so I got this. I'm gonna blow up the school. And that's basically what she did. She caught the school on fire because people didn't want to take the test. So she felt the urge to help them by burning the freaking classroom and burning down the school. Yeah, exactly. So essentially what was happening is that they were gonna get a test there. So this is her storyline. Is essentially people are freaking out because the test coming. Some of them aren't ready. There's a lot of stress behind test. It's like, I think it's like 2 weeks away in the show. And then so while everybody's studying, she's planning out a way to make sure this test doesn't happen by having bombs. Yes, she made bombs and put them in the school to blow it up. And this is the way it was going to happen, is that she was going to make sure nobody was in the building, and she was going to blow it up while she was inside. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. I honestly am still shocked how the hell Yuji was able to manage pulling it off to where none of the explosives blew up, nothing happened. Because she activated the thing, and then everybody showed up, and they're like, oh my gosh, what the heck is going to happen now? Because she's freaking out, because she doesn't want them to die. She's doing this for them. But yeah, but she's Oh my gosh, that was the most ridiculous episode ever. Um, and there's a bunch of other side characters here and there, but they're not really that important. Well, we're gonna go into the final episode, part of this video, and we'll talk about Amane there. Alright, so the last arc, technically, I'm going to say technically an arc, because the final episode, I'll talk about that as well. But the final arc is dedicated around Amane. Essentially, her backstory is she's the sole survivor of a bus accident. Essentially, what happened was she was part of, I believe it was the girls' basketball team when she was in her other school, and they were on their way back from a training camp. And unfortunately, the bus lost the tire, which caused the bus to derail and fall down a cliff. And basically, they were stuck there for I think like 12 or 13 days. It was really a long time. And then so basically, we got episodes dedicated to the flashback because Amane as a character, when we first meet her, she's very love oriented. Like she really wants Yuji like extremely just to this ridiculous extent, but we later on learned that it's because he's the younger brother to her best friend who died on that accident. Or died. I'm gonna do it like that. I'm gonna say this is the final episode part. I don't even need to stop. We don't know if she's dead. That's the funny thing. But essentially what happens in the last like couple episodes is they basically go through what happens to these kids because they're all girls and then a teacher while they're stuck down there. There's limited food, there's limited water. There's not limited water, my bad. There is a river nearby that can get to refill water. But there's limited food supplies. And I mean, unless they start foraging for places, then it's really, really hard. There's people who got hurt. Like there's this chick who really like broke both her legs. She can't walk. There's another one who can't she's actually like strapped down because she just can't move. They just start. It was horrible. Like I honestly cringed at everything that was happening there. And so people started dying left and right. So not left, like not in section, but people started dying off. And then the teacher basically took them to bury them. Now what ended up happening is that the teacher decided to go out to find some rescue. Unfortunately, like he was gone a couple days. People started suspecting that he just left them to die. He did come back later with no help, unfortunately. Now Amane and Yuji's older sister Kazuki, they were the ones who stayed sane for the most part because Kazuki's a freaking genius. She's actually smarter than Yuji, which she actually iterates a lot. Like she's constantly saying that. And so basically the way that people down like literally like this was so to such a realistic extent of what would happen if this sort of thing happened was ridiculous because literally you just saw people going insane. There was a moment where this little girl who had a dog, the dog died, and she was planning on burying it. But hello, we need food, so like Kazuki is the one that actually said it. Like she flat out said, "Oh, I thought we were gonna eat it," and she's like, "What?" And then everybody started like going, "Oh, well, we kind of, we really need the food and stuff like that." So she felt bad about it, and like she was crying when she had to eat her own dog. It's stuff it's real stuff. It really grabbed you. That's just me. At least to me, it just grabbed my attention how great they were able to pull off the people going insane and people like just slowly deteriorating to the point where they were not socially adequate. And the way it ended was ridiculous because what ended up happening is that people started dying off, right? One of the girls that was sick died, and then she was buried. But then all of a sudden, the next day they had meat, like right. So like Kazuki was like, "I'm not eating that," and so Amane ended up not eating it either. But everybody else was stuffing their faces. It was a dead girl, and Kazuki found out about it because she was like she followed them. She actually ended up making a trail to escape, and she was gonna leave with Amane in the next day. Here's what happened. Because people had been completely gone insane, they were already full of disease because they ate somebody who was sick and they were just going insane, to be honest. they actually just started telling each other off they should die already. The the captain of the team was having sex with the teacher, and they were both acting like animals. And then the people that had died were there on the ground and with parts missing because, well, that's what they were eating. And then they ran, like, because they got spotted, and then they ran away. But then Kazuki sacrificed herself to make sure that Amane lived. We had this whole ordeal, which is what set up the final episode, where the father of I believe it was the captain, kidnapped the girls at the school and threatened Amane to come back to save them because she sacrificed. People basically hated on Amane because she was the sole survivor of the incident, and they ended up finding the dead bodies all chopped up and everything because Kazuki is a genius. But she didn't think that maybe people would start thinking of Amane as a different, like maybe a culprit or something. But anyways, the point is, final episode is just basically that, just the father of I believe it was the captain. I believe it was the captain threatening to kill the other girls in school if Amane didn't show up. And then Kazuki, oh my goodness, just showed off his sniper skill. I actually want to look it up. I want to convert this because I honestly don't know how much of a distance that is. Okay, but essentially, like I said, he's the cleanup crew. Now, what ended up happening is that he came up with a plan to kill the guy, and then it was ridiculous. Okay, there was a small 10 centimeter opening for him to fire, but it was in the bathroom. All right, so half a mile of a distance. That is ridiculous. That's how far away he was. And so like I said, Makina is a Marine. She's the daughter of a Marine. So he used Morse code to tell her to go to the boys' bathroom, break one of the stalls, forcing the guy to use the next one, like not the stalls, but the urinals. You're a guy, you know what I'm talking about. Use that one so like he would have a shot from where he was at. And it was ridiculous how they pulled it off. And the way it happened is that she did it, and Michiru needed fake to go to. And then something happened to where he pushed Makina, she pushed Michiru, and she slammed her head onto that one urinal they needed, and she's like, yes! It was hilarious. But anyways, so he's gonna go, like, he goes back, Amane shows up, and he's basically hitting her and stuff like that. And then I don't know why they did this. It was really creepy because he's an older man and she's like, what, 15 or something like that. And he's looking at her body, like feeling her up with the shotgun. And then they show him getting a hard on, and I'm like, I don't need to see that. And he's gonna take her to the bathroom to rape her. And then he uses the urinal, and he gets shot by Eugene from half a mile away. And I'm just like, bruh, how the heck? And it was it's just like this big little spot opening for him to shoot. It was ridiculous. Oh my god, it was amazing though. I really liked that last episode. It was great. It was great. It honestly was. The way he did that, and then everybody was saved. And then they hinted off a possibility of a season 2. I wouldn't mind watching that. But yeah, moving on. Alright, so the Fruit of Grisaia is basically a show that I kind of just went into it. I was looking at, the new series that were going to be airing. Like, I'm not really a person that has usually been following up seasons of anime. Like, I don't look at, winter or, fall and all that. I don't do that normally. I decided to do it, and I'm glad I did, because the Fruit of Grisaia was really a fascinating series. Honestly, I mean, if season 2 happens, I'm definitely watching that. You can bet on that. It was a really fun show. I liked the drama aspect is really what sold it to me. I mean, when it said it was drama romance, and then I think at the beginning it said harem, but then it took that out. But I like the fact that the drama was the most important part, because it just shows you how people are psychologically. That's the biggest, most important part for me personally about this whole show, was just how they were able to show that off in such a great way, to be quite honest. So my rating for the Fruit of Grisaia, or the Fruit de la Grisaia, as it's actually called, is definitely finish it. And that's going to be it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought of the series if you watched it. Let me know if you're going to watch it now. But anyways, guys, I'm SoresanCrockxen. Oh, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm SoresanCrockxen, and I'll see you guys in future videos.